You are now watching I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel.
I shot him 6 times!
What's going on, horror fanatics? Welcome to I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus. If you have not done so already, please shoot this video a like. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm a ton, as well as if you're a new viewer to this channel, please shoot that subscribe button as well as that notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel. In this video, I'm going to share a theory of mine that I have for Stumacher and for Scream 6, and actually the entire Radio Silence supposed trilogy that I assume that we are going to get. I do believe that we are going to get a Scream 7, so with that being said, that would make this a Radio Silence trilogy. And I'm going to share a theory that I have about Stumacher and the potential of him running a cult. Now, many of you who have been watching this channel, if you've been keeping up, I am one of those fans that do believe that Stumacher is alive, and I do believe that Radio Silence has been teasing such leading up to Scream 6. That's obviously these teases started and these Easter eggs started in Scream 5. So with that being said, I want to share this theory that I have regarding to who could be involved in Stumacher's cult if he is alive and if he is running a cult. And I want to first and foremost say that the people who are in this cult are outside of the first two, which would be the Scream 5 protagonists. I don't believe that going forward we will get any new characters suiting up as Ghostface. So with that being said, let's get into who I believe is involved in Stumacher's cult, starting from Scream 5 that will work its way into Scream 7. The first two members of this cult that I believe is being ran by Stumacher that I want to touch on is Scream 5 protagonists Richie Kirsch and Amber Freeman. Now, why I believe that they are a part of this cult, or were a part of this cult of Ghostfaces that is being ran by Stumacher, is the dialogue that we got from Amber Freeman in the kitchen scene when she is pleading for her life, for Gail and Sydney to spare her life. She goes on to say that she was radicalized. It was a subreddit post. That piece of dialogue implies that her and Richie had other outside sources that they were communicating with in order to make this happen. That piece of dialogue is so key and shows that it's not just Richie and Amber that are involved in these new string of Ghostface killings / attacks. There's a bigger story. There's a much more broader story that is being told here, and that there is somebody else who is pulling the strings. You don't sit there and say, oh, I was radicalized. It was the subreddit post. Especially that term radicalized. That means somebody is in her ear telling her to do these things, telling her to carry out, this will of Ghostface and these killings. So, in my opinion, I do believe that Richie Kirsch and Amber Freeman were the start of this Ghostface cult. Well, I don't want to say the start, but they were the initial two Ghostfaces to go out there and start killing again and revitalize, the Ghostface killer and the Stab franchise. Because as we know, in Scream 6, it seems that we are going to get a Stab 9, which was what Richie and Amber wanted, was to take it back to the basics and create a new Stab movie while taking it back to the original concept. And that's another thing to touch on as to why I believe Stumacher could have been, their cult leader, is all the Easter eggs that we got of Stumacher in Scream 5, how angry Ghostface got when Tara got the question wrong about who were the killers in Stab, all that good stuff. I believe, and just the taking it back to basics as well. That's the biggest component to me, is the whole taking it back to the basics. Why? Who else would want to take it back to the basics? Stumacher. Stumacher would want to take it back to the basics. Why? Because he's old school. He's not familiar with all this new age horror stuff. So what did he do? He enlisted the help of these two young Stab fans who hated Stab 8 and wanted to take it back to the basics themselves. They wanted to rehash the magic that was created by Billy and Stu. So that's why I believe Richie Kirsch and Amber Freeman were a part of Stumacher's cult of Ghostfaces. The next two members I'm going to touch on that I believe could be a part of Stu's Ghostface cult is Angelina and Tyler from Scream 3 and Charlie Walker from Scream 4. Now, some of you will ask, well, how would Angelina and Tyler how would she be tied to Stumacher? She was killed in Scream 3. Well, if you're a viewer of this channel, then you know that I believe that that is not true. I don't believe that Angelina and Tyler is dead. I believe that her death was staged. I believe that she was actually Roman Bridger's accomplice in Scream 3. As if you watch that movie, there's no way Roman does all that by himself. And the fact that Angelina stabbed her, she was stabbed in the shoulder. It wasn't life-threatening. And she was drugged away. That never was done in the Scream franchise before. So that implies to me that that death was a fake death by Roman Bridger and Angelina Tyler, and that Angelina Tyler is alive and well, and that she could potentially be returning as a Ghostface killer in Scream 6. Now, what is her ties to Stumacher? Well, it's not a direct tie because, as we know, Roman Bridger didn't have a direct tie to Stumacher, only Billy Loomis. He even implied this in the final act of this Scream 3 scene when he's explaining everything to Sydney. However, the fact that basically Roman did start everything, none of this is going on without Roman. That's their link. They're linked to Roman full-heartedly, regardless, if it's a direct link through Stu and Roman or not. The fact that Roman started everything and basically was the inspiration, behind the Ghostface killings, is the reason why they are linked to Roman Bridger, Stumacher, and Angelina Tyler. Another reason is because if it is revealed that Angelina Tyler is alive and was a Ghostface killer in Scream 3, she's an OG Ghostface killer just like Stumacher. So you can definitely play off of that. And as for Charlie Walker, if you're a viewer of this channel, then you also know that I believe Charlie Walker from Scream 4 is alive as well. I don't believe that he is dead. I did a video about this. I'll leave it in the end screen of this video so you guys can check it out. I just don't believe that he is. I don't believe that stab wound where he says, "Oh, you stabbed me in the heart," when Jill stabs him, I don't think it was in the heart. If you look at that where the blood starts coming out, it's more towards the shoulder area. But hey, that's just my opinion. But why would Charlie Walker be involved with Stumacher? How is he involved in Stu's cult? Well, let's really be honest with ourselves here. If we believe that Stumacher is either in prison or even if he's out of prison and he's running this cult, he doesn't really have any knowledge of how the new school works. You even kind of got this implied in the dialogue of Scream 5 when Ghostface is talking to Tara and she's explaining about the Babadook, and Ghostface goes on to say, "What's elevated horror? What is that?" That is an implication that Ghostface killer isn't up to speed with the new school. Now, where does Charlie come into play with this? Well, going back to what Amber said about the subreddit account, Charlie Walker would be the perfect accomplice to Stumacher, being that he knows everything there is to know about running a social media platform, cinema club, obviously uploading the videos, that him and Jill was doing, the murders or what have you, or whatever him and his buddy's show was, to YouTube, whatever social media platform they were using. The fact that Charlie Walker has that immense experience and knowing how to run a social media platform, but not just that, be in tune with the new era, be in tune with the new age, makes him a perfect member of the cult of Stu Ghostface killers, especially if it is revealed that he is alive like I believe he is. And another thing to touch on of Charlie Walker, how he could also be revealed in Scream 6, as well as Angelina Tyler. Some of you may ask, why would Angelina Tyler be revealed in Scream 6? Well, the advertisement to Scream 6 shows Roman numeral lettering. That, in my opinion, implies that there is going to be some references to Scream 3. And I don't believe that is done, just for advertisement purposes. I believe those Roman numerals have a meaning to it. Could it mean that Angelina Tyler is coming? Possibly. That's just my speculation though. But obviously for Charlie Walker, the ties to Scream 6 would be Kirby Reed. We also know that a lot of what we are going to get in Scream 6 is going to be centered around Scream 4. There's going to be a lot of Scream 4 references in Scream 6. So that also makes sense for Charlie, if he is revealed to be alive and a returning Ghostface killer, to be a part of Stumacher's cult. But this is another thing, the last thing I want to touch on with Charlie Walker. If we believe that whoever these Ghostface killers are broke into the Ghostface Museum and stole the props and all that, and is a big Stab fan and all that, who is a bigger Stab fan than Charlie Walker? You name it. Who's a bigger Stab fan than Charlie Walker? Who would want to, who would want to sit there and, grab props, reenacting, Ghostface killers from the past Stab movies? In my opinion, it would be Charlie Walker. Now, you can also make a case in this sense for Angelina Tyler as well, with the whole souvenir quote in Scream 3, when Sydney catches her in the bathroom stall and she's like, oh, I figured this would be my last time in Hollywood, I might as well take some souvenirs. She could also be one of the Ghostface killers that breaks into the Ghostface Museum and steals the props as well. So again, guys, I definitely think that this is a theory that is possible, and I definitely think that in Scream 6 it could be revealed that Angelina Tyler and Charlie Walker are part of this Stumacher Ghostface cult. I do believe that we are going to get 3 Ghostface killers in Scream 6, but however, I do believe one will not be revealed. That's my take on that. But again, I definitely do think that there's some legs here in terms of Angelina Tyler and Charlie Walker possibly being a part of Stumacher's Ghostface cult and being connected to Scream 6 and being revealed in Scream 6 as the returning Ghostface killers. And last but certainly not least, the leaders of the Stumacher Ghostface cult, none other than Stumacher himself and Samantha Carpenter Loomis. Now, if you are a viewer of this channel, then you know that I am one of the many fans out there that does believe that Stumacher is alive and that he could be returning to this radio silence iteration of Scream trilogy. I believe that the Easter eggs in Scream 5 are there. We've seen the Easter egg on the map with his dot having a shade of red in it, implying that he might not fully be dead. There's something going on with Stumacher. And I just am a firm believer that if you do not get the double tap in the Scream franchise, you have a possibility to come back for that one last scare. Remember what Randy said in Scream 1996. Be careful. The killer always comes back for one last scare. We never got that with Stumacher, everybody. And to touch on Kevin Williamson's recent comments about what he made about basically saying Stumacher is dead, that basically the fans saw him in Scream 2, so that's where he thinks that rumor came about. No, Kevin, the rumor started when you decided that you wanted to bring Stumacher back in Scream 3, running a Ghostface cult from prison. We are all well aware that this was the plan for Scream 3 before it got axed due to some unfortunate incidents, in real life. We know that for a fact. We know that Wes Craven, even though he was 50-50 about it, was still 50% on board with letting it happen. So the fact that Kevin Williamson would sit there and say that, guys, I want you to understand something. To everybody out there who's like, see, told you Stumacher's dead. He's not going to tell us if he's alive or not. He's not. Especially if he is a consultant, which I believe he still is a consultant, even on Scream 6. I think he's going to be a consultant throughout this Radio Silence trilogy. I know he was a consultant on Scream 5. If he's a consultant for the film, he's not going to tell you that Stumacher's alive if that's the direction that they're going in, especially. He's not going to tell us that. It would ruin the entire surprise. It would ruin the entire element of the surprise of Stumacher coming back into the Scream franchise. It would ruin everything. So again, I don't take Kevin Williamson's recent comments about Stumacher being dead with a grain of salt. I don't I don't buy that. I think that he's just toying with us as the fans, you know. But back to, you know, obviously this theory about why I believe, you know, Stumacher is running this cult, and why now I believe also that Samantha Carpenter, alongside with these other members of the cult that I pointed out in this video, is Stu. Obviously, he wants revenge for being forgotten. He's not happy at the fact that literally everybody seems to forget about Stumacher. Everybody forgets about Stumacher. Billy Loomis gets all the praise. Now you may ask, you know what I mean? Why, if that's the case, why would Stu want to work with Samantha? Well, at the end of the day, maybe Stu doesn't blame Billy Loomis for him not getting the glory that he deserves. Maybe Stu blames the Stab fans, because they're the ones who don't give him the credit that he deserves. Everybody always talks about Billy Loomis outside of wanting to get revenge against Cindy Prescott and all that. Maybe Stu wants to get revenge against the very same community that praises Billy Loomis to the highest regard but seems to forget about him. So I definitely believe that's why Stumacher is alive and is running his own cult of ghost faces in this new Radio Silence trilogy. Now, where does Samantha Carpenter fit into this? Well, if you guys are a viewer of this channel, then you know that I believe that Samantha Carpenter is one half of this mastermind theory that we have all been delving into since the start of Scream 5 with Stumacher. I believe that she is involved. We have a 5-year time gap where we don't know anything about Samantha Carpenter. We don't know where she went, what she did, who she talked to, what have you. And I just find it really coincidental that this girl leaves for 5 years. She leaves Woodsboro for 5 years. And she comes back, and then all these Ghostface killings start happening. Not to mention, one of the Ghostface killers that's revealed in Scream 5 happens to be her boyfriend, who knows about her visions about her dead father that nobody else seemed to know about. How coincidentally. No, I'm not buying it. On top of the other clues that I've pointed out in previous videos, how did Samantha Carpenter know where Dewey Riley lived? How did Richie Kirsch get away with attacking her sister, her sister Tara, without Samantha knowing his extended leave of absence? There's just no way. On top of it, and this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing for me, is how does Samantha Carpenter not know where Stumacher lived, especially if she knows everything there is to know about her father, Billy Loomis, and about the Stab franchise. She knows about the Stab franchise. She knows about the original Stab. She knows about the history. It's public record that Stumacher's house was where the final act scene of Scream 1996 happened at. She knows this. But yet it is implied as if she is the victim, that she is clueless and oblivious to all this. And in my opinion, I think this is done on purpose, because what I believe is that Samantha and Stu are basically recreating but also finishing what was started in Scream 1996. We have to keep in mind, what was Billy and Stu's whole plan was to kill everybody and make it to the sequel. They were well aware that they were making their own movie. That's what I believe is happening in this new Scream trilogy with Samantha Carpenter and Stumacher. They are recreating the magic that was created in Scream 1996 by Stu and Billy, but they are doing it in their own way in these new times, and they are reconnecting the Loomis-Macher connection on a whole new level in this Radio Silence trilogy. I am a firm believer of this. Again, I believe the clues are there. If you go back and watch Scream 5, the clues are there that point to Samantha Carpenter being a mastermind Ghostface alongside with Stumacher. And let's also touch on something here real quick before I exit out of this video, is the diaries of Samantha Carpenter. The diaries that she found out about Billy Loomis being her father. We don't know what else those diaries told. We don't know anything else. We only know the dialogue that we got in Scream 5. there can be so much more story to be told out of those diaries that could be playing out in Scream 6 and then could be finishing out in Scream 7. So again, everyone, I am a firm believer in this theory of this Ghostface cult of Stumacher. I definitely believe that everybody that I have mentioned in this video is involved with Stumacher. I believe they are the ones who are going to be doing the killing. Again, I'll say it right here, and I'm going to say it in another video, and I'm going to give further explanation why I believe this. I believe that in Scream 6 and Scream 7, none of the new characters is going to be a Ghostface killer. That's just my thought and my opinion, and I'm going to delve deeper into that opinion in a later video. But that's just my thought and my opinion as of right now. We are not going, none of these new characters are going to be a Ghostface killer. What we have here is a Stumacher Ghostface cult that is revolved around old school Ghostface killers, at least in Scream 6. I'll say at least in Scream 6. That's what we're going to get. But in terms of Scream 7, I believe that Stu and Samantha will be revealed as the mastermind Ghostface killers, and that's how this Radio Silence trilogy will end out. But that's just my opinion and my speculation. Again, this is just a theory. This isn't fact. This is just something that I have been thinking about in terms of the Scream franchise and all the clues that I have gathered from all these characters and why they could be a part of Stumacher's cult, and of course why Stumacher himself could be running a cult and could be alive in this new Radio Silence trilogy for Scream. But okay, everyone, that is it for this video. Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts and opinions on this theory, as well as let me know if you do believe that Stumacher is alive and running his own cult. Who do you believe is inside the cult of Stumacher Ghostface killers? Once again, this is I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host and creator, Marcus. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. Thank you all for watching.